Christmas. I feel you, babe.
I can feel the presence all around me. If love was made of water, I'd be drowning. I'm grateful that I'm here and that you found me. The way you showing love is astounding. Keep this moment, hit record with the repeat on it. Keep it on, gotta keep it flowing. It's silent, but the love's outspoken. Yeah, the love's potent. Oh, never wanna leave. So good that it's hard to believe. Moments like this got me feeling right. I can feel the sun even in the night.
'Cause I am surrounded by all the people I love. There's no reason to cry 'cause I know that you will hold us. Oh, I feel you this Christmas. I feel you, babe. And I will never take for granted the way you took my hand and led me along the path where I should be. So I put you first. You told me that's what you're worth. I know nothing compares to your ways. So for that I'll trust and obey. Yeah, yeah. Your love is so ample in my life. And I know this because I am surrounded by all the people I love. There's no reason to cry 'cause I know that you will hold us. Oh, I feel you this Christmas. I feel you, babe. Feel you this Christmas. I feel you, babe.
I've never known a love so steady. Even gold won't turn your tide. We flow together like an ocean.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well enough? We'll start again. Good morning, everyone. I think this is better. How are you doing this morning? Good, all right. That's nice to see. I can see already some smiley faces. Welcome here at Résidence Palace for the conference of today, Shaping Tomorrow, AI in Social Security and Work Capacity Assessment. Now, before we dive into today's topic, I would like to remind you that there is simultaneous interpretation during the whole day. And you may ask yourself, where can I find my channel? Because it's a bit hidden. Now, you have on your left side of the armchair, you can open that little part, you can open it there, and you have interpretation right there. As you can see, Nederlands 1, Français le 2, and Deutsch in channel 3. So welcome also everyone who is joining us online. I know that there is a lot of people who are watching us today during the whole day. We have an event today that aims to facilitate the interdisciplinary dialogue to unpack the opportunities that AI promises to bring in the sector, and at the same time to ensure that the technology is safe, trustworthy and human-centered. Now we have a full day, like I mentioned, extensive and dynamic program. You can expect keynote speakers as well as panels. And the program of today, let me introduce to you the program of today so that you know exactly what to expect. We'll have the introductory panel this morning, after which I'll gladly also give the floor to the keynote speakers. Each speaker will take the time to answer your questions. So if you have questions, you can definitely ask them this morning. And after the lunch, we'll have our 3 panels. So we have AI and data in social security, followed by the second panel, addressing challenges of implementing AI in social security and work capacity assessment. Then we'll have a short break, and then we'll continue with our last panel of the day, benefits and future potential of AI in work capacity assessment. It's the same for the whole day, so if you have questions for our panel members, you can definitely ask your question at those particular Q&A moments. We'll end the day with the conclusion given by Mr. Manuel Paolillo, and we'll have hopefully a moment to chit-chat together by the end of the day. Now, before we begin, I can see that you're physically present. I can see that some people are here with a big smile, but I would also like to know if you're wholeheartedly present by doing a little test with all of you. I invite you to take your phone. We'll have a code. You can scan the codes to have Slido all together. You can participate on Slido, join Slido with this code. Now, the first question is a very simple question to introduce the atmosphere, the energy of today. First question is very simple. How are you doing this morning? Are you ready to shape the future with us? Is it answer A, doing well and more than ready? B, it's not working yet. I'll give you a moment. Maybe it's still not working. Ay, 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 ay. Ah, some answers are coming in. Great. So we have doing well and more than ready. B is still a bit sleepy, but I will be ready soon. And then last but not least, and maybe the most honest, doing okay, but not ready to shape anything. I hope I don't have too much C's. All right. I can see that answer B, still a bit sleepy, but I will be ready soon. It's taking the lead. Oh no, I'm wrong. Doing well and more than ready is taking the lead. I saw the gray from here. All right, fantastic. We'll continue with our next question. What's your professional activity? It's one open answer, just to know who is with us today here in the room. Your professional activity. Okay. I absolutely love to see every answer coming in. Data scientists and civil servant, AI research, insurance doctor. So we'll continue, my apologies, with our third question of this morning. All right. Are you already using AI tools in your daily professional activity? Is it yes, very often? Yes, sometimes, or no? And I would say no, not yet. So mainly not yet daily professional activity using AI, but we're getting there because sometimes it's pretty close to no. All right, and then we have our two last questions, are a bit more technical, let's say. What are the main challenges that artificial intelligence could face when applied to social security? You can have multiple answers, obviously. A, access to data to train and test algorithms. B, risk of algorithmic bias and discrimination. C, safety and quality of AI applications. Or D, lack of transparency, black box AI. The main challenges that artificial intelligence could face when applied to social security. safety and quality of AI applications, followed by risk of algorithmic bias and discrimination, are taking the lead in here. Now we'll continue with our last question of this morning. What opportunities could artificial intelligence open up in the field of social security regarding the evaluation of work incapacity for both governments and citizens? Is it answer A, optimizing management processes, B, increasing objectivity in the assessment, C, saving time, D, enhancing the accuracy of decision making, E, enhancing individuals' access to their rights, or is it F, improving services for citizens? Here also you can obviously answer different answers. You have different options. A, B, C, D, E, or F. The opportunities of AI. Saving time, a very important one. All right. It's very obvious that the time saving is the main one on this last question. Thank you very much for answering all of these questions. I can see that you're already a bit more awake than 5 minutes ago. Now it's my pleasure to give the floor to the president of UMass, Dr. Jean-Pierre Baron Schenkelaars.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Shaping Tomorrow AI in Social Security and Work Capacity Assessment Colloquium. It's with a great pleasure and excitement that I stand before you today, surrounded by esteemed colleagues and experts in the field, both here in person and those joining online. Your presence here enriches our discussions and enhances the collective knowledge we strive to cultivate. Before we delve into the rich tapestry of discussions awaiting us, I'd like to take the moment to express my sincere gratitude. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, for your dedication to advancing our understanding of the intersection between artificial intelligence and social security. Your commitment to this crucial dialogue is what makes gatherings like these so invaluable. Allow me also to shed some light on the raison d'être of UMass, the European Union of Medical Doctors in Assurance and Social Security. With a 50-year history deeply rooted in promoting collaboration and progress in the field of social security, UMass has consistently worked to improve scientific knowledge of social security medicine in the European context. As we are shaping a new chapter in the history of social security medicine, it is essential that we continue the tradition of innovation, ethics, and inclusion that is the cornerstone of UMass endeavors. Furthermore, I must extend my heartfelt appreciation to Minister Van den Broek for his unwavering dedication and invaluable support towards modernizing of social security and the multidisciplinary approach of assessment in medicine promoted by the Belgian National College of Social Assurance Medicine. His vision and guidance have been instrumental in shaping the trajectory of our mission, and we are profoundly grateful for his leadership. Thank you, Mr. Minister. I would be remiss if I didn't express my gratitude to the Belgian presidency of the Council of the European Union and the Federal Public Service for Social Affairs for their invaluable contributions to this event. Their collaboration and support have been indispensable in bringing together experts from diverse backgrounds to engage in meaningful discussions that will undoubtedly shape the future landscape of social security. In conclusion, let's embark on this journey of exploration and collaboration with open minds and eager hearts. Together, let us chart a course towards a future where AI serves as a powerful tool in ensuring social security for all. Thank you once again for your presence and participation. Here's to a fruitful and enlightening colloquium. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Now we'll continue. I'll give the floor to the Deputy Prime Minister and Federal Minister of Social Affairs and Public Health, Minister Frank van den Broeke.
Mr. President, dear Jean-Pierre, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to address you today at this important conference where we come together to discuss the role of AI in the field of social insurance, medicine, and let's say social security and healthcare at large. I don't think I have to convince you here in this audience. AI promises to redefine the landscapes of healthcare and social security with new models of efficiency, new models of personalization. And in the realm of healthcare, we can today envision a future where precision medicine becomes the norm, not the exception. We can picture a healthcare ecosystem where diagnoses are astoundingly accurate, treatments are custom tailored to each individual genetic makeup, and proactive health management is based on predictive analytics. And that scenario is not merely hypothetical. It really represents the potential of a set of new technologies in the realm of diagnostics and therapeutics, but also AI. AI's role is equally transformative in the domain of social insurance medicine, given its ability to analyze vast amounts of data with unparalleled speed and accuracy. Through advanced algorithms and machine learning techniques, AI systems can sift through medical records, diagnostic imaging, and other pertinent information to identify patterns, trends, and potential risk factors. And that not only speeds up the assessment process, but also ensures that decisions are based on comprehensive and evidence-based criteria. Furthermore, AI has the potential to enhance the objectivity and the consistency of medical assessments in the social insurance context. Human judgments, while invaluable, can be influenced by various factors such as bias, fatigue, cognitive limitations. AI systems, on the other hand, are immune to such biases and can provide objective evaluations based solely on the data presented to them. And this helps to minimize discrepancies and ensures that individuals are treated fairly and equitably under the law. I hope I can come back to that in the panel. I think we can shift from a formal equality of opportunity for many people in our caseload to a real equality of opportunity by means of supporting AI systems. Moreover, the implementation of AI in social insurance medicine has the capacity to improve the overall efficiency of our healthcare systems by automating routine tasks such as data entry on the basis of medical files, scheduling, paperwork. AI frees up valuable time and resources that can be redirected toward more meaningful and impactful activities. And that not only increases productivity, it also reduces administrative burden, and it allows healthcare professionals to focus on delivering high-quality care to their patients. In social insurance, we have not just vast amounts of data, we have an immense caseload. Everybody knows the Belgian figure of people who are in long-term incapacity. We talk about 500,000 people a caseload that is a bit exaggerated if you look at it like that, but nevertheless, it's an immense caseload. And AI there can give more time to all professionals involved to really address the humans before them by saving time in routine tasks. However, these promises are there, but the path forward is not without its challenges. The ethical deployment of AI necessitates a careful balancing act, ensuring the technology's trustworthiness and reliability. Concerns over safety, bias, transparency, and accountability loom large, underscoring the need for robust governance mechanisms. The Pioneering AI Act serves as a critical framework in this regard, championing innovation while safeguarding EU values and fundamental rights. It is imperative that all stakeholders, policymakers, developers, citizens alike, collaborate to foster an AI ecosystem rooted in transparency, equity, and fairness. And I would say a fortiori, specific challenges confront the ethical implications of using AI in social insurance medicine. As AI becomes increasingly integrated into our healthcare system, questions regarding the privacy and confidentiality of individuals' medical and personal data, as well as the potential for AI to infringe upon their autonomy, their dignity, arise. For example, there is a risk that AI algorithms could be used to make decisions about individuals' eligibility for disability benefits or work accommodations without their full understanding, without their consent, potentially undermining their agency and sense of autonomy. In conclusion, if we are to really make a reality of the promise, we must think about a combination of efficiency, accuracy, fairness in our healthcare systems based on trust and reliability. By embracing innovation and harnessing the power of technology, we can better serve the needs of our citizens, we can advance the field of medicine, we can build a healthier and a more equitable society for all. It's an opportunity to be seized, which we will, I think, discuss really at depth today, and I wish you a very good conference. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister Van den Broeke. As we will continue now with our panel, I would like to invite our two other speakers to join us here on stage, Mr. Antoine Cassel and Mrs. Giulia Barbucci. And you can obviously give them a warm round of applause. Yes. Can I ask you please to maybe sit in a different manner so that, no, you're okay, so that maybe Mr. Antoine Cassel is sitting here. Minister Van den Broeke, if you please. Thank you. I'm sorry to, it's like musical chair, yes, that's one way of starting the day. You see, we have different ways. We have Slido, we have musical chairs on this beautiful morning. So this is the panel of the morning. Like you have already met the president of UMass, Dr. Professor Jean-Pierre Baron-Schenkelaars. He's specialist in social insurance medicine and medical expertise, currently invested in teaching and expertise in the management of public health and social security. We also have Professor Dr. Frank van den Broeke. He is recognized for his commitment to social welfare and public health, as well as his extensive experience in national and regional politics in Belgium. We also have Mr. Antoine Cassel, who is the head of cabinet for the European Commissioner in charge of Jobs and Social Rights, Commissioner Schmid. And we also have Ms. Giulia Barbucci, who is the former Vice President of the European Economic and Social Committee, rapporteur on AI. She is the rapporteur of the opinion Artificial Intelligence for Public Services, Organization of Work, More Equal and Inclusive Societies. Thank you all for joining us on this morning for this panel. Now, my first question for you, Minister Van den Broeke. we talked about the government. Now, what is the role precisely of a government regarding AI, and what about social security?
Yes, thank you. Can I maybe further elaborate a little bit on one or two examples where I think there is a real and an immediate promise based on what we are already envisioning in Belgium? As I said, we have a massive caseload in long-term incapacity, which is, there is a history behind this, but that's a reality today. And so our sickness insurance funds, together with our Sickness and Benefits Institute, is already thinking about how to apply data mining and AI to that caseload. And here I think the objective is what I would like to call proactive case management, which means that you identify individuals for which there may be a risk of further disengagement, which you can try to remedy by tailor-made intervention. And on the other hand, you can identify individuals for which you think that an intervention might be relatively efficient in order to enhance their potential to be reintegrated in the labor market. So it's kind of proactive case management. Obviously, this is very important in terms of the opportunities you offer or you do not offer to individuals. That's the reason why I said, for me, this is fundamentally an ethical question of moving from formal equality of opportunity, in that caseload of people in long-term incapacity, to real opportunity to be integrated in the labor market. You see the promise, you also see what is delicate, because it's about decisions about individuals. And so one of the questions is, to what extent is there automation, and just automation in this process, and to what extent is it a tool that you develop that supports the assessment made by a human about a human, which I think is the approach we would take. But nevertheless, it would enhance, let's say, the capacity of the professionals around the individual, first of all, in the sickness insurance funds, then in the Sickness Institute. It would enhance their potential to do well for the caseload, but you immediately see all the difficulties. There are many other examples. We could, I think, also use AI very well in monitoring and evaluating our policies, our interventions on a large scale. And obviously, I need not say this, I think people in the audience will be convinced. When it's about public health, personalized prevention based on the wealth of data we have about risk factors and context factors can obviously be enhanced. Now, this brings me to your question, but I wanted first to give that example. I think it is very important that you have a public policy framework here that really ensures in such a process the fairness of the process, the transparency of the process, the accountability in the process, and also the protection of privacy. And that's a matter, you might say, of guidelines, but it's a matter of public policy. And let me underscore again, to what extent do you think that the machine can really make a decision, or to what extent is the machine a support for the human to make a decision? I think that's key. Secondly, suppose you apply AI and learning, machine learning to such a caseload. Obviously, the caseload represents a history. It's not neutral. It represents already a practice. In that practice, there might be biases. And so that must be taken into account. Moreover, and very importantly, the data on which you rely must themselves avoid bias. So you need reliability of the data. The data must be sufficiently representative and comprehensive. That brings me to a very important debate we are having at this very moment about European Health Data Space Regulation. I think the European Health Data Space Regulation must ensure that the data we use are trustworthy, reliable, comprehensive, unbiased, and there is a delicate balance between rights of citizens to say, I object to you using my data on the one hand, but they need to have comprehensive and unbiased data on the other hand. So without reliable data, you cannot have reliable AI, and you cannot have that kind of real equality of opportunity which I think AI should serve. So that's for me important. Then finally, let me say that you need across the board stakeholder involvement, you need public trust. Even if you have a governance framework that is decided by public authorities that you think is fair, if people do not believe it is fair, it will not work. You will not have the kind of data solidarity we need. And so that the belief in the fairness of what we are doing, I think, requires real involvement by stakeholders and representatives of citizens, of patients at all levels. That's also important if we think about European health data space, and that's important when we think about how to apply AI on the data we have.
Thank you very much. I also have a question for you, Dr. President Schenkelaars. We talked about UMass, of course, who is the European Association of Doctors and Professionals involved in assessing and supporting people who are unable to work due to health problems. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about the extent of the problem in Belgium, but also in Europe, and how AI could help to improve management?
Yes, thank you for that question. As Mr. Minister also pointed out just in his introductory speech, Belgium is a country of about 12 million inhabitants, and the employed population about 5 million. And about 500,000 people of those 5 million are on long-term sick leave. This represents about 10 billion euros of disability benefit expenditures, quite a huge amount. And so too many workers are leaving the labor market because of health problems. It's a social tragedy, and that affects not only Belgium, but many European countries. So as I told, in Belgium, it's about 10%, a bit more than 10%, and in the European Union, just a bit lesser than 10% of people, of employed people, that means people from 20 to 64, we will have paid sick leave during the year 2022, the last figures we have. And so, just to remind you, in 2005, this figure was about 5%. It's now 10%, such a big problem. And as we look at what kind of problems they are, a quarter of those people are on sick leave for musculoskeletal problems, and a third of those people for mental disorders. So it's perhaps due to a more aging population in Belgium and the European Union, but also the prevalence of chronic illnesses, and perhaps also from the stress on the work floor, and also a very huge problem we have to address. And so the economic impact of this includes a loss of productivity, increased healthcare costs, and also strains on the social welfare systems. But what are the challenges for the system? And for medical doctors, we have to assess individuals. And Minister told us about tailor-made decision, so we have to address individuals' ability to work and to provide appropriate support. And that's time-consuming and complex. And another problem we have to face is there are too few medical advisors, and also too few multidisciplinary teams who are in charge of those assessments. And also they have to support social and professional reintegration. And we face, even if we had more budget than we have now, we face difficulties to find those medical advisors and multidisciplinary teams who can do that kind of assessment. And that's perhaps a potential role for artificial intelligence to help, as we see that AI can assist in various aspects of managing health-related work limitation. To name but two examples, because other speakers today will complete the picture, and already mentioned data analysis is one of the big issue for AI. We can identify trends and risk factors associated with work limitations, allowing to better identify at-risk populations. and to focus interventions on those who are the most at risk or in need for intervention. Another example, the second one, is decision support systems. We see that AI-powered decision support can assist, and I would stress that, as Minister did, assist and not replace, but assist healthcare professionals in assessing individuals' ability to work by analyzing medical reports, functional tests, and other relevant social professional data, because the problem is not only a medical problem, it's almost a social problem, and we have to analyze also those data in order to make a good decision. And last but not least, there are also ethical considerations, and I think it's very important to address them, and such as privacy concerns, of course, biases, as Minister also already pointed out, as it's concerned by AI algorithms. And we have to ensure that all AI-driven interventions are implemented in the way to respect individuals' autonomy and dignity. And additionally, I would stress just one last point. There should be mechanisms in place to ensure that AI technologies do reduce existing disparities in access to benefits and support systems. So it's very important that it's not to increase differences, but to reduce them.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Now, we also, you already mentioned it, obviously, the ethical challenges, and that's what will bring me to you, Mr. Castello, with the AI Act now. How is the Commission working to ensure that AI is used ethically and responsibly in Europe?
Well, good morning first. Thank you for the invitation and to be here. It's an honor. Well, as it was said by, of course, Minister Van den Broek and also by the President, the challenges and opportunities that AI presents needs to be framed, needs to be, of course, controlled. There are already a number of legislations in place, especially in the field of labor policies, in order to ensure that a number of ethical standards are respected. You have occupational safety and health at work, there is a framework and also a number of directives in that field. There is the directive on transparent and predictable working conditions, which is also very important in order to apply these ethical standards. The working time directive, quite old now, but probably revised at a certain point in time for those who dare to do it. But it is also important because you have there a lot of rules. And the directive on information and consultation of workers. So that's for the, let's say, labor framework. Now, there is this famous also GDPR, so the regulation on data protection, which of course also establishes rules for data protection, including criteria for lawful data processing and safeguards against automated decisions, significantly impacting workers. So this is also another layer which needs to be, of course, respected. And recently, we also produced a new legislation, which is the AI Act, which is something new, which actually is quite new worldwide. It's a kind of way to try to control and establish clear rules for AI solutions and AI systems so that they are safe and respecting fundamental rights, and including, of course, social rights. The AI Act actually classifies many AI applications used in employment relationships as high-risk applications. And so this is important because it lays down mandatory requirements to be met by high-risk AI systems and obligations for providers and users of such systems. So it suggests the prohibition of the use of emotion recognition applications, for example, on the workplace or in the educational settings. However, this AI Act also mainly focus on product safety and may not necessarily encompass comprehensively the potential workplace risks related to AI use. So President von der Leyen already mentioned the need maybe to go one step further and to also have specific rules in order to regulate also the use of algorithms, for example, in the workplace. You know that the Commission, and especially my commissioner, is very much defending, with the help of the Belgian presidency, the setting up of rules also for the platform workers, which can be also very much a standard. Unfortunately, there are still some problems in order to get that directive go through. We will see in the next couple of days, suspense. But this could also help a lot in that way. So ensuring ethical and responsible use of AI requires, as the minister said, also the involvement, of course, of policymakers, public in general, the industry leaders, researchers, civil society. But for the workplace, I would say more than ever, also the social partners. Social dialogue and collective discussions are, of course, extremely key, so that we don't end up in a situation, like it was said, where the technology prevails and not serve. It has to be, of course, the other way around. We have to have technology and AI as a means and as a solution, and not the other way around. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cassel. My next question is for you, Ms. Barbucci. What specific challenges do you face when integrating artificial intelligence according to social partners?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, good morning, everyone, and let me take this opportunity also to thank the EU MAS and the Belgian presidency of the Council. I am here representing the European Economic and Social Committee, and you know the committee is made of representatives of employers, workers and civil society organizations, so you can easily understand how important is this topic for us. And I would also like to underline the fact that the EC was among the first institution who put the topic of artificial intelligence in the center of the debate already in 2017. We have underlined the enormous potential in bringing economic and social progress, as well as the potential risks it entails. So since then, the artificial intelligence has been spreading in our lives in a very speedy way, and AI and robotics displace and transform jobs by eliminating some, but also by creating new ones. And the recent estimation of the World Economic Forum has shown that some 75% of companies will have adopted AI technologies by 2027, so a very big number. AI is becoming, as said, a prominent feature in many people's jobs. And of course, the tasks of workers are likely to change, and in fact, it has already changed. So our committee is concerned by several aspects. First, employees' working conditions that can be negatively impacted, in particular if we think about young people who are subject to precarious jobs, short-term contract, and low wages. Then the use of AI systems for monitoring, tracking, and evaluating workers causes serious concerns as regards workers' fundamental rights to fair and just working conditions, to information and consultation rights, and also to justified dismissal. In particular, workers are very worried that algorithms have started to oversee workers, give them tasks, give them direct instruction that can limit the workers' autonomy. Algorithms have already also evaluate workers' performance and behavior, as well as their earning and working conditions, and can even lead to the dismissal. Unfortunately, here we have already mentioned the Platform Workers Directive. That, unfortunately, for me, it was a failure for the European Union not to be delivered for the moment. The EC has also developed a series of recommendations over the years, and I would like to mention a few. So fundamental rights and European values should be at the core of Europe's approach to AI, and we should reinforce and renew the European social model to deal with the social transformation induced by the rise of AI and robotics. Because we need more transparency, given the fact that AI and robotics impact on people's lives. Algorithm processes must be explained if we want that workers, consumers, and citizens trust these developments. Also, people should be able to challenge decisions taken solely by algorithm. So in line with the human in command approach to AI, the EC believes that certain decisions should remain to people, to the humans, and there is an important requirement of oversight, of human oversight in particular, which is particularly relevant in labor relations, because oversight can be done by a worker or a group of workers. So these workers should also receive a training on how to perform these tasks, and also engineers and intelligent machine designers should be trained in ethics to avoid establishing a new form of digital Taylorism, where humans are relegated to following orders dictated by machines. So finally, we need a European program that takes an inclusive approach to AI and involves all stakeholders. Finally, I would like to stress that we also need to prepare our citizens, in particular the most vulnerable ones, with the skills they need to face the era of artificial intelligence. Europe should invest more in its people, who are its most important asset, and this is the only way to achieve a genuine skill revolution, as the committee, as the EEC supports for many years.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Barbucci. I have a next question for you, Minister Van den Broeke. We mentioned the AI Act earlier. Now, according to you, how does the AI Act solve, or maybe doesn't solve, the different challenges posed by AI?
Well, basically, I think I should repeat what Antoine already said. I think on the one hand, it's great that the EU has taken up that role. It's pioneering work. It's very important, but obviously has also a limit. I think the limit first, as Antoine said, I think is that we are about the systems. The next question is, what is the impact of the systems on society at large? And there you need more work, like the debate on platform work. Other debates, the kind of discussions we are having here, is about the impact and the use of systems. I think the AI Act is important because with this risk classification and the demands put on the systems in terms of transparency, accountability, ethical standards, that's already very important. But the next step is the societal impact. And there I think we need more work at EU level. And then the next limitation, obviously, but it's easy to say. I'm a bit cautious in formulating this because obviously the EU does what the EU can do, but it's a global problem. And so we need to engage at a global level with other players on AI because the other players will have an impact anyway. And so I think, yes, important step forward, but downstream there is more work and there is also a global issue.
Right, thank you very much. Minister Van den Broeke, President Schenkelaars, could you give us some concrete examples of where artificial intelligence has already had a positive impact on social security services in Europe? What is currently available? Why address also this issue not only at a global level, but at a European level?
Yes. Artificial intelligence is progressively integrated in social security across Europe, but at very different levels at this moment, and offering various benefits, such as efficiency improvements and cost saving, so better use of experiences. And I will give some concrete examples, but we are still at the beginning of implementation. And first example is customer service chatbots. AI-powered chatbots are being used by social security agencies, even in Belgium, to provide round-the-clock assistance to citizens. And these chatbots can answer to frequently asked questions and guide users through application processes, also provide professional support, reducing wait times, also improving accessibility for citizens who are seeking assistance to their benefits or inquiries. So that is the first example where AI is already used. Also, we can use AI for predictive analytics. The algorithm of AI can analyze historical data. We already spoke about the many data available, and they can be used to predict future trends and demand for social security services. We can, for instance, forecast changes in demographics. We are speaking of an elderly population, so that's our information we can use. Also employment rates or healthcare needs, and so we can better allocate resources and plan the future. Another example of where AI is already used is automated document processing. AI technologies such as optical character recognition or natural language process can enable automatic processing of documents. There are many demands and applications made, so we can go through those applications, those claims, those supporting documentation by those technologies in order to streamline administrative workflows. Can reduce processing time because the number of demands are so huge that it is at human level quite difficult to go through them. So AI can make those processes more faster. We can also minimize errors. We have already spoken about biases and data, and that's, of course, a question about quality of data, but there can be a solution to minimize errors. Also to improving overall efficiency, of the services. And last one, but it's not the last example, there are many more, but it's also to detect non-take-up. One of the big problems in our society is that many people don't use their rights or don't be are not aware of their rights because of lack of literacy, of ignorance. And so it can be very useful that proactively AI can help people with their possible rights. And so, of course, it can also be used to detect fraud. And but the first and the most important thing is, I think, to look at the non-take-up, which is a big problem in our society. And then last part of your question is why to address them at the European level. Why is it so crucial to do it not at the national level but at the European level? The first point I should stress is that we need standardization. At this moment, we have so many different schemes, different systems, which are not aligned, not harmonized, and AI could help us across all Europe to have the same process and the data, same data formats, because you are only, it's possible to compare pears with apples. It's quite difficult, so we have to harmonize our data. And so facilitating interoperability between the different social security systems. Another point is also to have cross-border challenges. You know, Europe is a Europe of 27 countries. Some are big countries, others are smaller countries. Belgium is one of those. And people don't stay their life long in the same country. So they are cross-border traveling. Even their residence can change. And so it's very important that we can promote free movement of citizens across the member states. And so we have also to address those problems related to social security for people who are traveling, not only traveling for vacation holidays, but traveling even because they're settled in other countries. And so to assure entitlement for benefits, but also ensuring data privacy and security, it's important to standardize at the European level.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Cassel, the European Pillar of Social Rights is the compass of the Commission regarding the social agenda. Now, how does the social agenda taking into account AI in the in the future, in the coming up years?
Well, I'm not going to repeat everything that was said, especially by President now, because I think he has accurately described the potentiality of AI. But before, you know, AI needs data, as it was said, accurate data with all the ethical standards that we were talking about. But before getting to AI solutions, especially in the field of social and labor markets, the first thing that you need to do is to digitalize the, let's say, institutions that are processing all these data. And like it was said, it's a bit of a jungle today in the EU. We have more than 3,500 institutions dealing with social security and social protection. So it's not 27, it's 3,500. So the first thing is, of course, to start digitalizing and have a standardization, as you said, so that we have interoperable data that can be used by the different institutions, and that's where we can actually from there start to engineer AI solutions under the framework that we discussed in the first part of this panel. So the Commission has presented in September last year a communication on social security coordination and digitalization in that area. So I invite you to read that communication. It basically addressed two big challenges. One is the challenges that I already alluded to, the cooperation and the data exchange between administrations. There are already solutions that exist today, but we have to further get to a better system. And so the communication invites member states to discuss this and to prepare, let's say, the next 5 years. We have elections this year, so that the next administration, the next commission is able to prepare and work out these solutions. But we need, of course, there is a way, but we need the will. So we need also member states to approve this. And that is a bit, in different policy areas in the EU, a bit of a challenge, because you always have, of course, resistance, because your system is better than the system of the neighbor. So that's basically what we always experience. But okay, I think we can try, and I think digitalization is not rocket science in a way, because you can actually develop, and there are already, let's say, developers that can help, and Commission can help to coordinate this. That is one challenge. The other challenge is what also mentioned, is the fact that Europeans marry, divorce, study, work abroad, cross borders, and we need to ensure that mobility inside the EU is enhanced, especially at the time where it was also mentioned there are a lot of skills and labor shortages in the EU in different areas, especially in the area of care. And so we can use also digitalization in order to help in that way. We have all experienced, unfortunately, the consequences of the pandemic. The pandemic has shown us that member states, when a pandemic occurs, will, of course, have different ways to deal with that pandemic. So we have tried at the EU to coordinate that. And one important tool that I think everyone here has experienced is the COVID Pass. COVID Pass was a digital tool that allowed to cross borders and to restore the movements which were completely impeached by the pandemic and by different rules that were not coordinated. So the COVID Pass is an easy solution. It's very complex in terms of, it was complex to set up, but it was done in a very, very speedy manner for let's say, speed at the EU level on a couple of weeks. And it allowed to get a number of information on a digitalized way that could be recognized by administrations in other member states. Imagine to have that in a more general way for labor market or social security purposes or social protection purposes. You would have, and there is another vehicle in the meantime that has been worked out, which is the e-wallet, so a kind of digital wallet that citizens, that Europeans may use in order to show documents to another administrations that will be recognized and that would simplify, ease, detect fraud, avoid problems. Imagine posting of workers when they are cross-border, when they are crossing a border. Labor inspectorates always struggle to see if the workers are entitled to social security and if they are well protected. With these kind of digitalized solutions, you may actually get to real concrete standards for the EU. So I think by doing this in the next 5 years, we then start and of course use AI, as it was said, for a number of much more developed solutions, but you need first the data, and that first part will allow us to collect the data in order to fuel then the AI systems in a better way.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cassel. My last question is for you, Ms. Barbucci. According to you, which AI solutions are likely to become a reality in the future, and how can we ensure the acceptance of users? I think it's a very important one, and I don't want to rush you, but I see that we come to an end of the panel. So if you maybe could sum up your answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I will not come back to specifically to the AI solutions because it has already been said that in the future these are likely to become increasingly prevalent. But I would like to come back to the risks. Sorry, but I think that we have to come back to the issue of data privacy. So the risks for citizens and in particular for workers. So data privacy, job displacement, as I said, due to automation, algorithm biases, and ethical implication of AI decision making. So this implies careful consideration to ensure responsible and equitable deployment. But when we come to ensuring acceptance of workers and users, AI the AI and of the AI solution, I think that trust is the key word. And AI is no exception to this rule. So for me, the involvement, as already said, of social partners and civil society organization is absolutely key. And also at European and national level, social dialogue plays a key role in shaping all policies to improving living and working conditions in general, and to respond to the quick transformation in the world of work. I would like also to mention the European Autonomous Agreement on Digitalization of 2020, which already provide the method to conduct this dynamic social dialogue in the context of digitalization and also the risk of AI. As I said, it is important to guarantee that workers and social partners are fully informed and consulted in the decision to use and develop AI in the workplace. And it is also been proved that when you involve workers and their trade unions, workers are more likely to accept positively the impact of artificial intelligence, and this is also what a report of the OECD has shown recently. Just to finish, I would like to inform you that since we consider that there is still a lack of specific attention to the impact of artificial intelligence on workers, the EEC is now initiated own initiative opinion to look deeply into this issue, using foresight technique and involving various stakeholders, and we plan to adopt this opinion at the end of this year in December. And in addition to this opinion, it has already been mentioned, we are also preparing another important opinion on artificial intelligence and the impact on public services, of which I am a rapporteur. This opinion has been requested by the European Commission and should be adopted in October. It will take a human-centric approach to AI and will consider how AI could be used to improve the delivery of public services, to enhance effectiveness, efficiency, and access for citizens, in particular the most vulnerable, and look to opportunities and challenging AI poses for workers and businesses as regards the organization of work. So I hope that you can follow this work, and we are looking forward to cooperation in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marbucci. We come to an end of this panel, but I would like to ask our panel members maybe to share a short, positive message to end this panel, something positive about the future, about AI. I don't know who would like to start. It's a very spontaneous insight, I know.
No, maybe very briefly. This is an important topic in our EU's presidency program. We have another very important topic, which is that we would like to reaffirm the European Pillar of Social Rights, which is 20 key social policy principles as the compass for the EU's and the member states' action for the next 5 years. We'll do that mid-April, I hope. Now, for one, I think that we should use also the European Pillar of Social Rights as a lens through which we look at what we would like to achieve with AI. One of the principles in this list of 20 principles is about equal access to high quality and affordable long-term care and care. And clearly AI can be a crucial instrument in that endeavor. But that's not a given thing. And so maybe one of the aspects that not been discussed in the panel, but which I would like to give as food for thought for the next few hours, is that we should also think about the kind of social innovation we would like to promote using AI. That is innovation for the public good, which is enhanced by AI. I think that could not just be useful if you have that pillar of social rights in the back of your mind, but also to enhance the trust of the citizens. It's also about the kind of partnerships you would like to promote between, let's say, social actors, our sickness insurance funds, for instance, our public authorities, but also academia, other private actors. So the kind of partnerships you would like to promote around AI is also, I think, a very important topic. But I say this with, in the back of my mind, these 20 principles of the European Pillar of Social Rights, which for me should really be the lens through which we look at all these developments.
Thank you very much, Minister Van den Broeke. Mr. President.
Yes, just shortly, I am impressed that we are all well aware about the challenges, and it's very positive that we are aware of that, but also very optimistic and positive towards future and positive application of AI. So we are very open-minded, and that's also very, very positive. So for the next day, the day-to-day, but also for the next days, couple of months, couple of years, and also saying that politics are often speaking about the next legislature, that means 5 years, but we, as medical advisors, we are looking for a next generation. So it's perhaps not the same horizon, but we are looking in the same direction, so that's also very positive. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Cassel.
I think a lot has been said. I think AI, we shouldn't be scared about AI. We should be aware, as it was said, by the challenges. It can definitely help shape a better society. So if you want a positive comment, I think it has always been the case in the history when we are progressing and finding new modern techniques, modern ways. It has to be just framed, it has to be controlled in the remit of the things that I said. In the field of social, also, of course, in the light of the compass, the pillar of social rights, which is absolutely key. And with that, I think we can actually have a more human-centric society, which will be easier for everyone. So we shouldn't be scared, but we should be aware of the challenges. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. I am representing the EEC, but I think you have understood I come from Group 2, which is the workers' group. So I think that for me, in the future, and I have already explained to you that we are preparing an opinion on this specific issue. I think that it's important to engage trade unions, engage workers in collective bargaining concerning algorithm management at the workplace. So this is very important. And secondly, and I close with this, I think that it would be important to have a general legal framework, and in particular the proposal of a directive on AI in the workplace, which could complement the Artificial Intelligence Act.
All right, thank you very much. These were our speakers, our panel members, UMAS President Professor Jean-Pierre Baron-Schenkelaars, Belgian Minister for Social Affairs and Public Health, Professor Dr. Frank Van den Broeke, Head of Cabinet, Commissioner Schmidt, Mr. Antoine Cassel, and of course, former VP of the ESC Rapporteur on AI, Ms. Giulia Barbucci. Thank you for your insights and for your time. And we will continue. I see some people who are ready to leave, but we will continue with our two keynote speakers. So like mentioned earlier this morning, we will have two keynote speakers. And after the keynotes, you can also ask your questions directly to the speakers. I'm just gonna wait that everyone is installed. Okay, I think we're ready to continue, more or less. Okay. So like I mentioned, we have the two speeches now, the two speakers, and after, if you have some questions, obviously you can ask your question after the keynote, when we'll have the Q&A moment. Our first speaker now is Koenraad de Bakker. He's a professor of economics and management of technology and innovation at KU Leuven. He's chair of KU Leuven Associatie and a member of the board of governors in Aachen. He has held and he holds directorships in several companies. He studied engineering, economics and business at the University of Ghent and MIT. And he held visiting professorships at several international universities. Ladies and gentlemen, Koenraad de Bakker.
How is my presentation? But I have a slideshow. Okay. So, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to have some reflections on AI. We had a very interesting panel discussion. I was able to listen to most of the panel discussion, so I think many important items have been touched upon. What I want to do is to highlight some of the evolutions in the area of AI. Just for your information, yesterday IMEC is the International Inter-University Microelectronics Center in Leuven in Belgium, reported its Digimeter, as they call it, and they see a tremendous rise in application of AI. So in Flanders, because that's the region on which they focus, last year 33% of all people used AI. And this means that the dissemination of ChatGPT, but also Copilot and other AI environments is really reaching the broad public today, which means that we should also take this into account when thinking about AI, because people will become much quicker familiar with it than we might think from time to time. Now, when we talk artificial intelligence, I always like to start with some history. Because Norbert Wiener, professor at MIT in the States, the founding father of the discipline of cybernetics, wrote a very interesting book in '64 that won the US National Book Award, and where he stated, and I think that's the point we are arriving at today, the world of the future will be an ever more demanding struggle against the limitations of our intelligence, not a comfortable hammock in which we can lay down to be waited upon by our robot slaves. I do think that more than ever this statement is true. When I talk to colleagues at the University of Berkeley, for instance, they are really working in the area of how can we give consciousness to a machine. And that's a big philosophical debate, of course, but it's also a technological debate today. Digital evolutions and revolutions, of course, at the heart of everything, we have the Green Deal and the Digital Acts in Europe. Never forget this. But in 2013, two MIT researchers, Erik Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee, wrote a very interesting, I wouldn't call it visionary, but a forward-looking book, The Second Machine Age, where they were really predicting that the big revolution in technology, in digital technology, driven by AI, would be the service sector. So far, automation was limited to the industry sectors. As of 2013, not 2013, but as of the last decade, we see a serious progress in terms of services being digitized and AI, and this is what my colleague Dirk Czarnicki proved in a paper that has been published in the meantime, together with colleagues at ZTW in Mannheim. There is a serious, measurable impact on productivity today. It's the first time you have prominent US economists who have been looking for the productivity effect of digitization and did not really find it. Well, here we see the first evidence that now AI-driven digitization reaches a level of impact on our productivity throughout various sectors, service sectors, but also public sectors, that has not been seen before. So I do think there is an important impact that we will see on the productivity front across all sectors, public sectors, financial sectors, service sectors at large, etc. And we will also see, which is, I think, interesting I come back to that a bit later, but which is interesting to note, we will also see a fusion of digitization, AI, and sensor technology. When you look at workplaces, a lot of activities will be replaced or will be helping people to support their actions. I think of the use of exoskeletons, the use of sensor technology, etc. This is not science fiction anymore. This is there in the workplace today. So it's not only about AI and digital, it's about integrating this with sensor technologies and integrating this. And there was a nice article in IEEE Transactions a year ago on what they called augmented humanity. And I think also from a social security perspective, a health perspective, this augmented humanity will become increasingly important in the future, in the near future. This is just some background, historic background again. For me, the big evolution today is that AI is not new. If you go back to Alan Turing in 1950 in the journal Mind, he tried to answer the question, can a machine think? And Nobel Prize-winning researcher Herbert Simon, he developed in 1956, together with Alan Newell, the book, The Logic Theory Machine. The Logic Theory Machine was about AI. But the big difference, this was rule-based AI. We called it expert systems at that point in time. Today, over the 60 years that have passed, we have seen a tremendous increase in computing power, a tremendous increase in data acquisition, sensors, Internet of Technology, a tremendous increase in the power of data transmission, which means that we can start looking at AI not just from a deductive perspective, but also from an inductive perspective. And I do think going forward that the combination of deduction and induction will be an increasingly important one, because induction can give us a lot of insight, but maybe, and this is also what the AI Act wants to push forward, maybe it's not always explainable. So as far as I'm concerned, one of the big challenges going forward is explainable AI. We can try to classify AI, because when we look into what does AI do, well, basically it does two things, classifying and predicting, classification and prediction. And it can do this in a supervised way, where you have training and learning with known data, or it can do this in a non-supervised machine learning way, which means that you do training with missing data, missing labels, missing categories. There are different algorithms. It's not the idea of going into detail on the algorithms here, but the important thing is explainable AI. Why do we come to the results, to the insights that AI is telling us? And that's where I do think the merger between deductive and inductive thinking will have to take place. And this also means that, and that's something that will be, I think, a logic consequence of the AI Act, it also means that we will have to develop design methodologies on AI applications where the explanation, the explainability dimension is an integral part of the design methodology. So we need a closure, which means why, how do we explain the results, the insights we get? Because it's only when you ask those questions that you will be more accurately and acutely confronted with biases, for instance, and try to understand biases. So different algorithms, that's not important here. As far as I'm concerned, as I mentioned, the black box, from black box to explainable AI, this is underlying the AI Act. And we are, of course, proud that we have an AI Act, but let's not forget that President Biden, the 30th of October last year, signed an executive order with 144 guidelines for AI safety and security throughout the United States. So we are not the only ones who are working on the topic. And it would be good to see where the similarities and the differences are between the two approaches, because it's obvious that in the US, there is, if you just look into the executive order, there is a real synthesis they try to make between social impact, economic impact, and biases, and safety and security. And this also means you, as of course, having quite some companies that are prominent on the AI scene, that they also want to capitalize on this presence of those powers of those companies. So it's like Robert Musil wrote in 1930 in his book Der Mann ohne Eigenschaften, that AI requires us to look into meaning. And that's explainable AI. But meaning also means, and that's for me the second big challenge with AI, it is about transparency with respect to the data that are used. Because it was rightly mentioned before during the panel discussion, garbage in, garbage out, bias in, bias out. That's obvious. But this means that everyone should understand on which data has the application been trained, which data sources have been used, which data sources are underlying the induction that we come to. So for me, there are two important factors to leverage on going forward in applying AI and in implementing the AI Act, and those are, from a more academic perspective, explainable AI, and how do we make the data sources, the data visible, so that everyone knows on basis of what it is trained. And this discussion and this analysis will lead to a whole other set of complex questions that we need to answer. You may be aware of the fact that the New York Times is suing Microsoft today because Microsoft Copilot used information published in the New York Times to develop AI-based applications. So this is a new era, but also a new area that we will be exposed to. Increasingly, media companies are reluctant to share the information they have for AI-based training. What if they are going to do the AI-based training themselves on the own information they have? All questions that will have to be answered. So this, I think, the AI Act, compare it to the executive order of President Biden, and for me, the two important dimensions, explainability and transparency as to data. And here I would like to come to working towards a conclusion, to some brief cases. First of all, there was an extremely interesting working paper published by the World Economic Forum in December 2020 on ethics by design. And it was very much geared towards the digital industry. And I do think it's relevant for us to have a view and a look at this, to have a view on this paper and a look at it. Because ethics by design, the paper raises 3 questions. So, okay, the first question we always have to ask when it's about digital applications, is it legal? The second question we have to ask, and that's where, for instance, AI Act comes in, is it compliant? But the third, and this goes back to the social rights that were discussed at the end of the panel discussion, is it right? What do we think of certain applications as a society? And so this ethics by design framework, which is developed in this World Economic Forum paper, is, according to me, a very interesting one to take into account when merging the deductive and the inductive approaches that we see today. At the same time, there is a lot of challenges, fraud, inequity, etc. We also have heard the issue of vulnerable people. I think vulnerable people have a lot of needs and problems to be solved, but we have to be sure and be aware of the fact that inequality may increase rather than decrease because of those technologies. Whether the technology is the solution, then I don't think so. It doesn't mean that we should avoid the technology, but it means that we have to have an open eye on the problems that may emerge. On the other hand, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, a very big question, because it was mentioned the human should always be the last one to decide, and I fully support this. But what if the machine is better than the human? And this is a question that we will be confronted with. There was a paper published in Nature on AI and the use of AI techniques in producing faces. And apparently, the faces of all of us that AI is producing were judged much more trustworthy than an ordinary picture. So essentially, this is reality. This is happening today. And there are many other things. We see that when it comes to creativity, a paper published in Science a couple of months ago, humans still outperform artificial intelligence in a creative, divergent thinking task. But creative tasks that were similar to previous tasks, there the machine outperformed the human. So where will we put the balance? Today there are about 20 drugs in development that are based on AI. The effects on human health may be tremendously positive. Just to give you an example, there is a lot of publication, a lot of information on drugs, on molecules. It's not about drugs here, it's about molecules. And we know that certain molecules have certain characteristics. Well, using AI, we can couple those characteristics to, for instance, orphan diseases that cannot be treated today. I know of a drug that had been developed for obesitas. It didn't really work out there, but today it has been transformed into an effective drug for epilepsy with children, and children are helped by the drug. And the deduction was made on the basis of AI tools that contrasted the molecule, what is known about the chemistry of the molecule, and what could be a medical area, an unmet need that could be addressed. So the industry of AI design drugs is on the rise. It's not on the horizon anymore, it is there. And there may be many beneficial activities there. And together with colleagues from University of Oxford, we have a program in Leuven today, and this is a publication that came out of it, where we have the robot scientist. And the robot scientist, Augmented Humanity, is the combination of artificial intelligence and automated drug discovery, which means that the robot executes hypotheses that are being developed by the AI system. And this can tremendously influence the effectiveness of drug discovery processes. So also this is on the horizon. So this means that there is a myriad of challenges, but also a myriad of opportunities across many different sectors. And to conclude, I want to refer to this piece, this booklet that was just published by the University of Santa Clara in the United States. And University of Santa Clara has a center, the Markula Center on Applied Ethics. The Markula Center has been created by Mike Markula. He was one of the founders of Apple, and he used his fortune to invest in an applied ethics center. And they have created a very interesting overview on how could we deal and what could be a framework to deal with ethics in the age of disruptive technologies. They work together with all the big companies in Silicon Valley that want to come to grips with those challenges, which essentially means that also at the side of the developers of the tools and the applications, there are reflections going on that can be useful to us as well when we think of regulation, implementation, and the applications that will be subject to this. So I want to conclude with this slide. In 2021, there was a very interesting article in The Economist. And the article ran like, what if an AI won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2036? And I think this is not an elusive question. This is a real question that probably, and in the world of copyright, etc., protection, there is a huge discussion going on today. Can an AI own copyright or not? So we have to be aware of those battles, and maybe I thought this was a nice one to stop, to end. Humans are hooked, machines are learning. Let's never forget this. We will have to make sure that humans keep learning. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, another big challenge related to AI. Life may become so comfortable that we forget to write an article because the machine writes the article on our behalf. And this is a reality today, even today, because one of the articles I've shown was doing research into abstracts written by ChatGPT, scientific abstracts, versus by scientists, and it turned out you couldn't really make a difference between what the machine was writing and what the scientists were writing. And this brings me back to my two pillars again. This means that transparency will be of the utmost importance. We can try to prevent students from using AI, or we can push students to be open about the use of AI when writing a paper and revealing the sources that have been used. Then we will augment humanity. If we use it as a black box, this will not work. So that's the final message that I would like to give. Lots of opportunities, regulate it, but don't over-regulate it either, because let's allow for some creativity and innovation here. And at the same time, the best way to move forward is transparency on what we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Koenraads, Baron de Backer. Our next keynote speaker is Stijn Broeke. He's a senior economist at the OECD, where he leads the organization's Future of Work initiative. He currently manages a large research programs on the impact of artificial intelligence on the labor market. Stijn holds a Master of Philosophy in Development Studies from the University of Cambridge and a PhD in economics from Royal Holloway University of London. He has 20 years experience working in government and of international organizations, and he's also a research fellow. Please welcome Mr. Stijn Broeke.
So good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor to be asked to give this keynote speech, but I do have a confession to make, and that is that I know nothing about work capacity assessment and even less about how AI might be able to help with it. Now, of course, that should be in the first slide. Of course, I could have just asked ChatGPT, and it would have given me a perfectly competent answer. In fact, I might have given you the impression that I knew what I was talking about. I could have talked about the use of AI for data analysis and predictive modeling. I could have talked about how you could use AI for achieving more objective work capacity assessments, to carry out remote monitoring of health and performance of individuals, to build more personalized rehabilitation programs, etc. So the thing is that AI is getting very good at this. It can generate text, images, sound, even videos, you name it, and the output is very often indistinguishable from what humans produce. But it is and remains all very derivative and very boring. So Frey and Osborne, who are academics at the University of Oxford, and they're famous from a paper on automation they published about 10 years ago, they recently argued that AI could not create art, for example, like that of Marcel Duchamp. Now, for those of you who don't know him, Marcel Duchamp is famous for his sculpture Fountain, which changed the history of art, or the course of art history. Now, if Marcel Duchamp had had access to AI and had asked AI to create the fountain, I think the best that it could have created was a picture of a urinal in the style of the Impressionists, because that was the kind of art that was being produced up to then. And I think, what Marcel Duchamp created was art. What AI would have created or generated is not. And I think the same holds for music. For example, you could ask AI to write a symphony in the style of Beethoven or a song like Taylor Swift's, but AI could not have come up with John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And this is true of so many areas in our life, including work. In the end, AI is a statistical, a probabilistic tool that learns from past patterns to predict the future. And it can do that very well. It can do that much better and much faster than humans can. But I don't think it can replace us. So to come back to the topic of today's conference, I will not pretend that I know about work capacity assessments based on some research that I might have done. AI can do that much better than me. But what I will do is I will try and bring you some insights from what I do know about, which is the future of work, labor markets. And I will focus, as a result, more on the people who are responsible for doing work capacity assessments, clinicians, etc. And I think that's an important focus because it's hard to talk about the role of AI in work capacity assessments without also talking about the people who work in this area and how AI will impact on them. So I will draw some inferences from what I do know about and draw some comparisons, and hopefully that will give you some value added over and above what AI would have been able to give you. So we all know that there's been huge progress in AI in recent years. It's been truly astounding. AI tools can process huge amounts of data in just a split second. So it will be able to assist us in decision-making, so that our decisions become more accurate, but also faster. And that's great news because when we are faced with limited resources, as I'm sure many of you are, AI can help us provide better and more rapid services, and at greater scale. But inevitably, I think these things come with some kind of unease, some kind of worry, some concern that AI may soon replace us. And these concerns, as these kind of covers of magazines show you, are not new. They've been around for decades. And yet, despite these concerns, we have record employment rates in OECD countries. So what I will try and convince you of today is that AI will not substitute us, but will complement us. And there are 3 reasons for that, I think. The first of that is that there are still many limitations to AI. The second is that AI is likely to lead to productivity increases, and that was just mentioned in the previous presentation as well. So as a result, that may even lead, under certain circumstances, to an increase in demand for workers rather than a decrease. And third, because AI often does new things, things that we were not able to do before. So I will tackle each of one of these in turn. So yes, AI can do fantastic things, but it can also get it horribly wrong. So for example, when someone asked AI to create an image of salmon swimming in a river, it's the first image that it created. And also, at one point, AI had terrible difficulty telling the difference between chihuahuas and blueberry muffins. AI makes mistakes, and because of that, I think it's already been said, we would always want a human in the loop. Despite its name, I don't think AI is intelligent. It just identifies patterns and replicates them. So for example, AI will be very good at showing me adverts of shoes when I've already bought those shoes. It will have much more difficulty predicting the next thing I want to buy, which might be, for example, a television. Now, these mistakes may not matter so much when we're talking about a movie or some music recommendation, but it does matter when you have a driverless car which doesn't recognize a pedestrian. And I think in the area that we're talking about today, there have been some horror stories in related areas. So for example, in the UK, more than 900 people working in post offices were prosecuted for stealing money because of an incorrect information provided by an AI system. So many of these people went to prison, many were financially ruined, marriages broke down, health deteriorated, some cases it may have led to addictions and even to premature death. In the Netherlands, the tax authorities used, again, a self-learning algorithm to create risk profiles in an attempt to identify child benefit fraud. And so the authorities penalized families based on the system's indicators, and tens of thousands of families, often people on low incomes, people from ethnic minorities, were wrongly labeled as fraudsters. Some victims committed suicide, and more than 1,000 children were taken into foster care. So these are exactly the kind of scenarios that we want to avoid when using AI in social security or work capacity assessments. Now, besides errors and issues of accuracy, another challenge with AI is that, and it's been mentioned, is that it can replicate or even amplify human bias and discrimination because it's trained on data that may contain such bias and discrimination. It reflects past human decisions, and humans also are biased and discriminate. Now, one particular cause of bias may be that the data that we use, and we've already talked about the importance of having good data, is that the data that we use is not representative of certain minorities. And I'm going to try, I've never done this before, and show you a small extract of a video to illustrate this point. I don't know if I need to click. Yes, I think I need to click now.
Where's the buttons?
Oh no, they installed voice recognition technology in this lift. I heard about this.
Voice recognition technology in a lift in Scotland. You ever tried voice recognition technology?
No.
They don't do Scottish accents.
11.
Could you please repeat that?
11.
11. 11.
11.
Could you please repeat that?
11.
Whose idea was this? You need to try an American accent. 11. 11.
That sounds Irish, not American.
What, doesn't it? 11.
Where in America is that? Dublin?
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat that?
Try an English accent, right? 11. 11.
You for the same part of England as Dick Van Dyke?
Listen, yours then, smartass.
Please speak.
This is just an extract, and I encourage you to watch the whole video. And of course, this is humorous, but I think it highlights a more sinister truth about how minorities might be treated in various settings, including a clinical setting. In fact, there's plenty of evidence of that. And there's plenty of examples of when AI has been accused of being sexist or ageist or racist. So the bottom line here is, for AI to work properly and to be able to assist us, we need really good data, and this can often be a challenge. And even where good data exists, it's often not digitized, or the different data sets don't speak to each other. Often our IT and data systems or infrastructures are often not ready for AI. So in a recent project that I did on the use of AI in recruitment, it felt very strange to talk about AI when many human resource departments were still struggling to use an Excel spreadsheet properly. Now, another issue when we're talking about AI is that the question of who will be accountable in case something goes wrong. Is it the developer of the system, or is it the organization or the individual using the AI? And I think in this sense, the EU AI Act is a really welcome development because it tries to set down what the responsibility is of the developer to put on the market products that are safe to use, or also what's the responsibility of the user to use the AI in accordance with the instructions. But what is clear is that we need to take a decision as to how we use AI. Does it take decisions autonomously, which is a very bad idea, we think? Or does it help? Is it an input into a human decision? Or another possibility still is that the AI is used as a check on a human decision once it's already been taken. We need a human in the loop, that's clear, but we also need to make sure that that actually means something, because there's a very large literature which shows that humans suffer from automation bias, that they are tempted to accept a recommendation by a machine, especially when they are under pressure. And so a lot will depend on how we design those tools, how the information is presented, and how we expect people to interact with the tools. This is closely linked to other issues like transparency and explainability. We've already heard that AI models can be incredibly complex and that even experts may have difficulty knowing why an AI has reached a certain decision. It might even be impossible to understand that. And this is all the more a reason not to leave decisions to the AI only, but it's also important, I think, for us to make sure that people understand when they use AI what AI can do and what AI cannot do. So, for example, to go back on that study I did on AI in recruitment, I was amazed to find out that in the United States, it's very common to use AI to do background checks in recruitment. But just imagine a scenario where I'm a person who loves to read crime fiction, and all my Facebook posts are full of posts about murders and crimes. How would the AI interpret that? What kind of background report would the AI write on me, and how would the human resource manager interpret that report? Would they even question it? And finally, again, this has been mentioned, there are issues around privacy and data protection, particularly in the clinical context. And that's not just about the use and the collection of the data, the consent, possible data leakages, but it's also about the ability of AI to infer personal data. So again, here we're circling back to the issues of bias and discrimination, and all of these issues really are closely intertwined. So to summarize, what I'm trying to say here is that despite the many benefits of AI and the capabilities, there are serious risks, but also limitations, which I think mean that the human will always have an important role to play, and that's one reason why AI will not, at least for now, replace humans. But there are also other economic reasons. After all, I'm an economist. So recent advancements in AI have been really astounding. It used to be that automation was restricted to routine tasks, so things that you could program. So if Y, then Z. But AI is different. AI can do non-routine tasks. AI can learn. And so AI vastly expands the kinds of tasks that we can automate. And it also means that it's now extended to workers who were previously protected from automation. Previously, it was factory workers in manufacturing primarily. But now it's also high-skilled workers. So when we look at the professions, the occupations most exposed to AI, we're now looking at science professionals, managers, etc. So high-skilled professionals, whereas the least exposed to AI are people like refuse workers, food preparation assistants, and cleaners. So does that mean it's now the turn of high-skilled professionals to be automated? And I think the answer is no, even on the contrary. So with some research at the OECD to look into this, now this is a complicated graph, but on the vertical axis, what you have is employment growth over the last 10 years or so. And on the horizontal axis, what you have is exposure to AI. And every dot here is an occupation in a country. So what do you see here? Absolutely nothing. There is no relationship. It means basically so far, exposure to AI has not had an impact or has no relation with employment growth. But it gets a little bit more interesting because once we try to divide this up into 3 groups according to computer use in those occupations. So we looked at the first group, and sorry, this should have been animated, but on the left, you have the first group of very low computer use. And in that group of occupations, there is no relationship between exposure to AI and employment growth. In the middle group, the white dots, and the kind of middle line, we're starting to see a slightly positive relationship, but it's statistically insignificant. In the third group, which are occupations where there's a lot of computer use, so these are occupations that are often very high-skilled, we see a slight positive relationship, which is statistically significant, which means that in those occupations, the more exposed they are to AI, the more employment growth we see. So how is that possible? We don't fully understand the mechanisms yet, but it's likely to do something with the fact that these tools make these workers more productive. So when you think about clinicians and work capacity assessments, it will help them make better decisions, faster. It will make them more productive. That's the theory, because in practice, the story is a little more complicated. Now, there have been some very interesting studies emerging recently looking at the impact of AI on productivity. So in one experiment on the left, what they did is they looked at writing, and they recruited people such as grant writers, consultants, managers, and they gave half of these people access to ChatGPT to do a few writing tasks. And they found that the group who were given access to ChatGPT became more productive in their writing tasks. So that's good news. But what's also interesting is in that group, it wasn't the most productive workers who became more productive, it was the least productive workers who became more productive. So AI narrowed the productivity differences between the most and the least productive workers. In a second experiment, what they did is they looked at customer service agents. And again, they gave half of these customer service agents access to AI and the other half not. And again, the finding was very similar. AI made the youngest worker or the newest workers more productive and the least productive workers more productive. So again, it narrowed productivity differences between workers. And there's a few other studies that have shown this, but there's also one interesting exception, which is a third one, which looked at radiologists. And in this case, AI did not improve the quality of radiologists' assessments. And that's not because AI was less good than radiologists. In fact, AI was better than 2/3 of radiologists in terms of making these assessments. But it was because the radiologists didn't know how to use AI. When AI offered confident predictions, radiologists often overrode those predictions with their own. And when AI offered uncertain predictions, they would let the AI override their own predictions. So what do we learn from all this? First of all, that AI can make us more productive. In particular, AI can make the least productive workers more productive, so it will reduce productivity differences. But also, AI will make us productive only if we use it correctly. And that highlights the importance of training to work with AI. So at the OECD recently, we did some surveys in 2022 of workers in manufacturing and finance, and we did this in 7 OECD countries, and we found something very similar because we found that the workers, in general, workers were in fact very positive about the impact of AI on their own performance. So this is related to productivity. If you look at the left of this graph, what's interesting is that the workers who received training to work with AI were even more positive than the workers who did not receive training. They had a more positive view of AI and the effect on their productivity. And the second interesting finding is on the left, is that workers who work in companies that consult workers about the use of technologies were also far more positive about the impact of AI on their performance. So this suggests that social dialogue, or at least worker consultation, can play an important role in making a success of AI. And to go back to the case of work capacity assessments, when it comes to AI, it will be really important to consult workers about the use of AI, but also maybe patients. And it's been mentioned already this morning, the building of trust is really important when it comes to using AI. And before I get into a bit more of a policy discussion, I want to just mention the third reason why I think AI will not replace humans anytime soon. And that's because AI often does tasks that humans didn't do before. So just to give you an example, in a webinar that we recently held at the OECD, a person from Rolls-Royce gave an example that at any time, their AI monitors 3,000 engines that are in the sky. It does diagnostics across 20 dimensions, and it does this 24/7. That simply wasn't a job that humans were doing before. This is something completely new. And so that's the third reason I think that AI will not replace humans anytime soon. So the message I'm trying to convey to you was put very nicely by the economist Hal Varian, who said that we will run out of workers before we run out of jobs. And that is particularly true in an aging society when we are increasingly struggling with skills and manpower shortages. So we should welcome AI, learn how to use it properly, rather than be scared of it. So in my final slide, I just want to say a few words about emerging policy and regulation, because any use of AI, whether it's in work capacity assessments or elsewhere, will be affected by this. Now, one of the challenges that policy, but also, I guess, workers and employers face is that the AI is moving so fast and that we're often running behind the facts. And that's an issue in particular with regulation, which can be very, very slow to adjust. I mean, we have the EU AI Act, but by the time it's implemented, we again will be a few years from now. And this is why I think principles can be very important. So at the OECD, we published the OECD AI Principles back in 2019. These have been adopted by all OECD countries, include also G20 countries. We're currently updating these principles, and they can guide you in the use and also the creation of AI in many areas, including work capacity assessments. But principles are not legally binding, so eventually we will need regulation in some of these areas. But I think the mistake that's often made is that AI operates in a regulatory vacuum, and that is not the case. We have legislation about occupational safety and health, about data protection and privacy, about discrimination, we have employment regulation. But the trick is really now to quickly look at these regulations and to see what is missing. Are there any loopholes? Are there any gaps? That being said, many countries, including the EU, but also the US with Biden's directive, are also developing AI-specific legislation, and that's something that we need to look out for. And last but not least, it's not just legislation that will play an important role, but also the social partners and social dialogue. Because there really isn't anything inevitable about AI. It's not a fate that we need to suffer. We have the power to decide whether we use AI, how we use AI. And that's a decision that we best take all of us together. And so let me just finish with another quote from an economist, David Alter, who writes that we should not ask what AI will do to us, but instead what we want it to do for us. So on that note, thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a very fruitful conference.
All right, thank you very much to both of our keynote speakers, Mr. Stijn Broeke, Professor Dr. Koenraad de Bakkere are the two keynote speakers that you just heard. And now I'm going to look at you, ladies and gentlemen, to see if you have any questions for our speakers. There is a microphone somewhere that will be handed to you if you have a question. So you just have to raise your hands if you have a question. I have a question there in the last row. A person is coming with the microphone.
Science, Dresden University of Technology. So my question is for Professor de Bakkere, and it's actually a question about visibility on training data, and the biases of data, the limitations of data, and I fully agree. But my question is visibility on the other side not equally important, or maybe more important? Visibility on outcomes, visibility on global assessment, predictive approaches, visibility on where the AI is actually getting it right and getting it wrong on a narrow level, but also on a global level. Is that not a more important visibility than the visibility on the data on which it's trained?
Well, I think that's precisely why I had two pillars that I pointed to. One are the data, the transparency, the data quality, the data on which it's trained. The other side of the coin is the explainability, where those issues pop up. So that's why I always refer to the combination of why do you find the outcome you find, and what is the outcome? How can you explain it? And then, of course, based on this discussion, you will know how to use it or not, want to use it or not want to use it, and the input side, the data quality, the data transparency. So for me, it's two sides of the same coin, in a way.
You have an additional question?
So it's maybe a very short reaction to that. There's a little bit of a difference, in my view, between explainability and the question of transparency and outcomes from AI. Transparency and outcomes from AI is a little bit more on the side of, does society in general know that, for example, AI in work capacity assessment is delivering what society wants from that? Whereas explainability is, in my view, much more related to the individual decision maker. And for me, one of the things a lot of the reading materials we read before this conference that were shared by organisers points that current systems, non-AI-based systems, have been really lacking on assessment of how well they worked. When we introduce AI, the criticality of knowing how well they're actually working and making those decisions should also be a pillar.
Yeah, but I think I see the point, and I see no problem in taking this into account. That should be the normal part of every decision process, whether it's AI-based or not AI-based. But that's the points that I wanted to make are really related to the design, the development, the implementation of the AI tools themselves, the context in which they are used, and the policy questions to which they are applied require that broader assessment. That's I think, logic. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there's anyone else who has a question. I think I saw, yes. You, ma'am, and then afterwards I will come to you, sir.
Yes, I'm Gulmake Khaled, medical doctor. My question is there a possibility for human to train their brain as at least equal to MI or ChatGPT? And second part, my question is if MI do all the work like processing, analyzing, and implementing data, so there will be no decreasing role of human in labor market?
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Yeah, the first part is there is a possibility to train human brain like in same level of ChatGPT or MI.
And sorry, and the second question as well, because I wasn't sure you asked about human replacement, but the process. What's the relationship with the processes you mentioned, the work processes?
Yeah, as I heard from your presentation that MI will do all the procedure of data analyzing, processing, and implementing the data, and in future maybe making decision. So there will be no decreasing role of human in labor market?
Okay, so on the first question, I suspect no is the answer, because I think things like ChatGPT do other things, do things that humans can't do. That being said, I use ChatGPT occasionally in my job, but very rarely, and with the output, I still adjust the output and do something with it. I don't take it for what it gives me. So I don't think that, first of all, we want to train our brains like ChatGPT, but also I don't think it's necessary. On the third thing, now I do need to mention something which I think I gave a very positive presentation about the role of AI and the future of work. I still believe that. I'm quite an optimist when it comes to technology and labor markets. In the past, it's always been the case that technology has, of course, disrupted labor markets, and that's why it's important that we have all the systems in place, the training, the social protection, etc., to help people transition, because jobs get destroyed, but then new jobs arise. So I think these transitions are really important, or even for people who remain in a job, the training part is really, really important. But I think there is something different about AI. One of them is the scale and the speed with which it's happening. I think previous technologies were far more restricted to certain occupations, whereas AI will affect all of us and very, very quickly. And so the speed of adjustment is something that's very, very challenging. But I also think that AI will change the nature of our jobs a lot. And for instance, one thing I didn't talk about very much today is what it implies in terms of skills needs, the skills that we will require in our jobs. And there is some emerging evidence, including some work that we're doing at the OECD, that if you look at firms that have been highly exposed to AI, in those firms you see a reduction in demand for certain high-level skills. What that means in terms of the jobs of these people is not clear yet, whether their jobs will still be there in the future. And if they're there, what kind of skills they will need. And I think this is something that we need to look at with urgency to understand, to prepare our training systems, to make sure that people are prepared for the changing skills needs and the changing nature of jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan. I work at the Flemish Chambers of Commerce. I would like to address my question to Professor De Bakkere. It is about the concerns one might have about the sensitivity of health data and how it may impact the choices we make between protection, between privacy. And the other side of the balance is how can we improve health of people using those data. What we tend to see in the legislation and the initiatives that have been taken is that focus is on protection and privacy rather than the potential benefits of the technology. So I'm curious about your reflections on that.
Well, I think this is a generic question. This does not just apply to AI. It applies to the way we use personal data on the broader health scene, for instance. And there I do think I'm advocating that we should visit and revisit what we have learned in terms of GDPR and privacy when it relates to health and when it relates to clinical research and those activities. There are ways to deal with pseudonymization, anonymization, pseudonymization, etc. So that's one thing. But the other thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that we should, with the collective experience we have in the meantime, how we should weigh the privacy versus the collective benefits. And of course, this requires a number of methods and approaches to do so. But I'm really astonished, for instance, in the own medical environments that I'm familiar with, to have to listen to PhD students who have to wait for several months to get an approval to use anonymous blood samples from cancer patients to use this in their cancer research. Then I'm a bit flabbergasted. Is this really protecting privacy, an anonymous blood sample? Do we need all those procedures to use this in cancer research for the benefit of? So I'm a bit astonished when those stories come to me, and they do come to me on a very regular basis. So that means that, and this is not AI related, it's a general GDPR privacy public health question that I do think should address. We have some years of experience now. We should revisit how far do we go with what types of approaches.
If I may just, on the comments you made on the opportunities that exist with AI, I think that's very true. So we often focus on the risks. In fact, the EU AI Act, that's what it does. The Biden directive, that's what it does. It focuses on the risks. But I also think one of the risks is that we do not take advantage of AI. And at the OECD, we did a project last year which looked at AI and disability. And there's plenty of AI applications that exist out there that help people see, speak, hear, help them become more mobile. And so it really is a huge opportunity for reducing the employability barriers that people with disabilities face and to give them more access to jobs in the labor market. So I think you're right, we need to grab these opportunities as well.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for a last question. Mr. Paulino? Yeah, the microphone is coming. Oh, yeah.
Hi, Manuel Paulillo from the Organizational Committee from the Ministry of Social Security. I have a question for Professor De Bakkere regarding that you told us that we have to go from a black box AI to an explainable AI. But is the common trend, is this the trend now? Because what we see with LLM is that there are more and more things that we are not capable to explain at the moment, and that's the trend, I think, with LLM. And should we need AI to explain us what AI is doing. So it's a recursive question. Thank you.
In a way, we should. When looking at LLM, it's the massification of the use of LLM that runs into those issues. I think when I look at what the corporate world is doing, they pay a lot of attention to the explainability, increasingly so, because they know there are liabilities involved when you have the wrong decision on your product because you don't understand or sufficiently understand how you design the product or the service. But the massification shows us that indeed there can be biases, indeed there are problems in understanding, and I do think that the least we should request is that we understand what information sources the large language models are built on. And of course this is a very large and ever-expanding question, because the bigger the internet, the bigger the information source you can use and deploy, etc. But still, it's a challenge, and I do think that the challenge is fueled by the more general accessibility of OpenAI and other types of applications that have come to the forefront. And there have been cases illustrated and described where essentially based on the type of training that was done on the data and the type of data sources, there are clear biases, even language-related biases in the type of solutions that are being brought forward. And that means that the training and asking AI to do AI is one thing, but training everyone using AI to understand what can and what cannot be interpreted is an equally important dimension.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if either of you would like to add something about the topics that were mentioned this morning, the questions that were asked. If nothing is to be mentioned on top of that.
Maybe I would like to just use the title of a very interesting book on President Roosevelt when he mentioned the four freedoms, the freedom of speech, etc. But the fourth freedom for him was the freedom from fear. And I do think that's something that we have to adopt when looking into AI. We shouldn't be fearsome about it. We should be open. We should understand and understand better. And AI is, of course, in our age, something terrific and terrible maybe at the same time, given all the questions we have. But there have been revolutions like this before. It's not the first time that humanity is confronted with such a breakthrough. So I think we can deal with it, and let's not be fearful of it.
Sure, thank you very much. I think it kind of, yeah, you can give applause. The open mind is something that joins you, Mr. President. It's something that we've heard this morning. Thank you very much for your presence and for your insights, everyone. I know that by now lunch is served next door. I will see you back here for the panels this afternoon. We'll see each other here around 1, 1:15. So we'll see each other then. Bon appétit.
All I see is blessings, got no time for stressing. Don't believe in failures in my life, it's only lessons. They just making room for what I'm on now. I don't got a clue, but I know the one who does know how. Oh wow. It's like I'm learning the game with the maker I already know now. Destiny has my name, know it's coming, it'll never go. I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way. Our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way.
I can't say that life's been perfect. to complain, cause life's been worth it. And all because of who he is working, only working out for my God. And no more living in that fear, no more tears and no, no. Oh, he's working me and molding me, who he wants me to be.
I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way, yeah, yeah, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way, our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way.
I can see the blessings, I can feel your presence, leaning on the change in my heart for your endeavors. I pray I'm your reflection, I fiend for your correction. The cross brought the connection, and through Jesus is perfection. Life done hit me crazy, been more stressed than ever, living like whatever. Through the rain I feel you drawing closer. Lord, make me better. Take me, shape me, use me, I am yours. Take me, break me for the glory of the Lord. Okay, not only does he hold me when I'm down and feel I'm folding, he my coach when I'm the goalie, never lonely. Got that hope in he who holy, holy, holy. Keep that rugged cross all on me, need that spirit to control me. Seek that word to come and mold me, yeah, yeah. It's like I can feel the blessings coming my way, yeah. It's like I can feel the blessings coming my way.
I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way, our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way, yeah. You can see the sparkle in my eye. With the love all around, it feels so right. And I will take this opportunity to share you. There's no way that I could ever repay you. 'Cause I am surrounded by all the people I love. There's no reason to cry, 'cause I know that you will hold us. Oh, I feel you this Christmas. I feel you, babe. I can feel the presence all around me. If love was made of water, I'd be drowning. I'm grateful that I'm here and that you found me. The way you showing love is astounding. Keep this moment, keep it caught with the repeat on it. Keep it on, gotta keep it flowing. It's silent, but the love's outspoken. Yeah, the love's potent. Oh, never wanna leave. So good that it's hard to believe. Moments like this got me feeling right. I can feel the sun even in the night.
'Cause I am surrounded by all the people I love. There's no reason to cry, 'cause I know that you will hold us. Oh, I feel you this Christmas. I feel you, babe. And I will never take for granted the way you took my hand and led me along the path.
I've never known a